They came without warning. A relentless wave of terror that shattered everything in its path. In an instant, life changed forever. Homes once filled with laughter became battlefields. Streets that bustled with life were turned into scenes of horror. Innocent civilians, families, children, became targets of a brutal attack that shook the very soul of Israel. Within hours, the unimaginable had unfolded. Approximately 1,200 lives stolen in cold blood, each one a story, a dream, a future, taken too soon. And as the dust settled, the realization of an even deeper horror hit. 251 innocent souls, kidnapped, torn from their homes, their families, and dragged into Gaza. Mothers, fathers, children. The pain, the fear, and the uncertainty they face every day is a burden we all carry.
Speaking up for Israel and the Jewish people in our darkest hour, that's the burden that we all share. Shalom and welcome. I'm Eylon Levy.
And I'm IDF Captain in Reserves Maya Bentwich.
It's hard to believe that it has been a whole year since October 7th, and only 1 year since October 7th, when it feels like it has been a whole year of October 7th.
But today marks 1 year since the October 7th massacre, an event that has changed Israel and Jews around the world forever.
As we speak, the October 7th war continues on 7 fronts, 8, including attacks on Jews around the world. And there are still 101 hostages trapped in the terror dungeons of Gaza.
Tonight, we welcome you to the Israeli Citizen Spokespersons office in Tel Aviv for a special event to reflect on the past year and unite not just in grief, but in resilience and hope. Over the next hour together, you will hear stories from survivors of the October 7th massacres and the everyday heroes of this war.
And we will show how Israel, our global Jewish family, and our allies worldwide continue to stand strong and look forward to building a future of hope together, united in our belief that for peace, Hamas must go down, the hostages must go home, and Hezbollah and the other proxy armies must go away.
As we look back on this year, we remember the darkness that fell over Israel on October 7th. But out of that darkness, we also saw light. The courage, the heroism, and the spirit of the nation that leaves no one behind. This virtual event is not just a memorial.
Because how can we possibly forget what we can't get out of our heads at all?
It is a call to remain united with a sense of shared purpose.
We want to bring you the spirit of October 7th commemorations this year from Israel, and to thank you all for standing with us and with each other in the face of unimaginable challenges. Because no matter where we are in the world, we must all use our voices to speak up for Israel and the Jewish people. We encourage you to write your name in the comments, add where you're joining from, and if you feel comfortable, tell us a few words about your October 7th story.
We begin tonight in Kfar Aza, one of the epicenters of the October 7th massacre.
At 6:29 a.m., October 7th, last year, the sirens sounded. The residents expected rockets. They were used to that. They got those. They didn't expect the Hamas death squads that decimated their community. Decimated. 1 in 10 members of Kfar Aza were slaughtered or seized as hostages.
After October 7th last year, I served as a reservist in the IDF for 6 months in the kibbutzim that were devastated in the massacre. I came to know, love, and cherish these beautiful communities. This morning, we went back. And I want to share with you that as we stood and sang Hatikva together, it was the most meaningful Hatikva that I ever sang. You know, I remember singing Hatikva on many moving occasions, but none like this morning. A feeling of unity mixed with immense sadness and sorrow, as 5 members of Kfar Aza are still, as we're talking, 1 year after, being held hostage in Gaza. The following message of hope was filmed this morning in Kfar Aza.
יזכור עם ישראל את הנשמות הטהורות של בניו ובנותיו.
We're still in the October 7, 23. We're trying to do the best to be after it, but Without them, without the 101 people who are still there, it's not possible. I hope that next year I will tell you we are on in a good way. Everything that we are doing here, all the bombs that you are hearing now, it's our way to live now. We don't have another choice. We still want the peace, we still want the good life, but we have to recalculate our way.
We've been here on the 7th. After 30 hours, the army take us out, and we decide to come back after 2 months out of the kibbutz. And since December, we live in the kibbutz, and we're just living in a unnormal place, but try to make a normal life. We start to build, and hopes that 1 year from now, we see all the people in the kibbutz, including our kidnapped, that's still fortunately in Gaza.
צעירים וותיקים הסתובבו, וביניהם כמובן החטופים שלנו.
I think the message should be of hope and resilience. We are going to be strong again. We are going to build a community again. People will come back to the kibbutz, especially young people with young kids, but to a safety place. This place has to be safe for people to live in it. We were in our around 900 people living here. I hope that within 4 years, something like this, we'll come to this number again.
That was a ceremony at Kfar Aza this morning.
Simply unreal, the reality that they have to return to and rebuild their homes and community. The Nova Music Festival should have been a night of dancing, unity, and peace. But at dawn, the festival grounds turned into killing fields. Hamas's death squads invaded. They hunted down innocent people to kill. They committed barbaric sexual violence. They fired an RPG into an ambulance and grenades into a rocket shelter to try to blow people apart limb from limb. Young people ran for their lives. Some hid in ditches, some survived by hiding under corpses for hours till they were rescued. 364 people were slaughtered, including young heroes who stayed behind to treat the wounded or even drove back and forth to try to rescue total strangers. Hamas took hostages, including Hirsch Goldberg-Polin, who was then executed in Gaza just a few weeks ago. Many of the Nova hostages are still there, at risk of being executed by their Hamas captors in a dark, squalid tunnel.
This morning, we went down to the Nova site, where survivors and families gathered to remember those cruelly taken from us. We spoke with Rami Shmuel, a festival producer who volunteered to identify victims. We also spoke to Milet Ben Chaim, a Nova survivor and a member of the Survive to Tell team. They are committed to the vision, never stop dancing.
That's a way of saying we will not give up. We will not be taken down by terrorism. We survived, and we will live.
7 o'clock, we start to hear rumors about invasion and gun shooting. We thought that it was an imagination of a couple of guys, and we didn't take it serious. About 30 minutes past 8, the big invasion here took place, and hundreds of terrorists on vehicles, on motorcycles, raped on the terrain of the festival and start executing everybody. Kill zone, war zone. Dead bodies spread all over. It's pure evil. They came in one purpose: to kill, to butcher, to rape. The Hamas terrorists didn't ask you if you're a Jew or Muslim. You have a heartbeat, they shot you. It became from a happy place, from a place that you come to enjoy music and love. It became too sad. All you can see is the sadness.
I had to run for 2 hours, and eventually me and 3 other girls, we found this, something like a bush, and we hid there for 6 hours. This ground and those trees are the witness of our last dance and of most brutal massacre. We lost here 410 beautiful angels. We're still waiting for those being held captive. Out of Nova, 40 people were taken hostage. All the pictures of the beautiful souls that were taken here, it's heart-wrenching, and people need to understand that this is a crime against humankind. It's not about where you came from or what religion do you practice. The world has to choose a better way. We have to speak a language of love. The biggest victory that I have is that I can sit here a year after and I'm devastated and I'm not normal and I have PTSD, but it didn't change my heart. And I still have the ability to love.
So much courage to talk about the problems they're going through and commit to power through and continue living and loving.
And especially on this difficult day.
Yeah.
Israel did not start this war. It didn't expect this war, and it did not want this war. We still don't want this war. We're paying a terrible price for it. So many of our friends and family have been on the front lines in uniform as conscripts or reservists. Our allies want this war to go away. We need the threats to go away, and that's why Israel's soldiers know what they're fighting for, to bring safety and security to the people of Israel. They know we can't stop while there are hostages in Gaza and while displaced families can't go back to their homes.
And they can't go home while the Hamas terror regime or the Hezbollah terror regime are their neighbors. One of those brave reservists is Maya's partner. Let's take a moment to hear from him and draw strength from the troops on the front lines, even a year into this war.
On October 7th, we took a very big hit, but since then we've been here fighting it, almost a year into the war, right inside Gaza, looking for our fellow Israelis, boys, girls, everybody that was kidnapped. Again, we will dance again, we will keep on fighting until the end. Not out of vengeance, but out of justice, and that's what we're here for. Thank you. Oh!
We all pray for the safety of our soldiers, our family and friends who we, as a country, send into danger to protect us and our homes. Shai Avramson is the chief cantor of the Israel Defense Forces, and we were privileged to host him here at the Israeli Citizen Spokespersons Office for a special recording of the Mi Sheberach prayer.
אבותינו, אברהם, יצחק ויעקב, הוא יברך את חיילי צבא הגנה לישראל. משמר ארצנו וערי אלוהינו מן הלבנון ועד מדבר מצרים ומן הים הגדול עד לבוא הערבה ביבשה הוא אדוני את אויבינו הקמים עלינו ניגפים לפניהם הקדוש ברוך הוא ישמור ויציל את חיילינו מכל צרה וצוקה ומכל נגע ומחלה וישלח ברכה והצלחה בכל מעשי ידיהם ידבר שונאינו תחתיהם ויעטרם בכתר ישועה ובעטרת ניצחון ויקוים בהם הכתוב כי אדוני אלוהיכם ההולך עמכם להילחם לכם עם אויביכם להושיע אתכם
So powerful to watch and listen to. The last year has shown us just how much the fates of Israel and the diaspora are intertwined. The Jewish diaspora needs a strong Israel, and Israel needs a strong diaspora. There is no way that one sinks while the other swims. The diaspora has come under attack by Israel's enemies, and as the diaspora, it's also come out in force to defend their brothers and sisters here in Israel.
In the past year, many Jews from around the world, from around the diaspora, have come to Israel on a one-way flight and made the Jewish state their permanent home. These olim, as we call them in Hebrew, are the living bridge between the Jewish diaspora and the Jewish state, and us, Israelis. Let's hear from them.
On October 7th, I was in Melbourne, Australia, so we were celebrating Simchat Torah. And obviously we heard that there was things going on in Israel, things that were beyond belief.
October 7th, in the morning I was in my bed. I got woke up by the sound of my mom crying.
On October 7th, I was actually here in Israel. I remember sheltering, I remember coming back. This actually was worst case scenario.
I just remember feeling the sense of urgency that I should be in Israel now, trying to help.
It was after then that I really felt a stronger connection than I've ever felt before to want to be here in Israel.
I thought that being in France and not in Israel was a mental prison.
I knew really surely that once my army was approved, I wanted to come and I wanted to be here.
And at the end of August, I decided that enough was enough. My heart is in Israel and I need to go there. And so I came here and I'm on a Masa program now, hoping to make Aliyah soon.
I always had a strong connection to this place. My dream was to live in Jerusalem. Here I'm happy, here I found a purpose.
I'm here to give what I can. I'm also here to join the army, here to live.
I want to serve, I want to give back, and I want to feel the culture. And the culture is that sticks together during this war and comes together and really protects its nation.
I have met wonderful people. When I got to Israel, it was very refreshing.
It's amazing to see how resilient the Jewish and Israeli people are, and I'm so glad to be a part of it.
I want to be Israeli. I want my children to be Israeli. I'm proud of my Israeliness.
This is actually a time that we need to make Aliyah. We need to be in Israel.
You know, Eylon, at my time in the IDF as a welfare officer is a time where I truly fell in love with Olim Chadashim and with lone soldiers and came to really appreciate what they're doing.
Oh, that's nice. We love you native-born Israelis too. You're not too bad when you get to know you. I remember when I was a new immigrant in Israel 10 years ago. It's inspiring to see that Jews around the world are making that fateful choice to make Israel their home. Our next guest is one of Israel's most famous immigrants.
Michael Oren, born in the United States, has had a designated career in Israel as an author, historian, professor, ambassador to the United States, member of the Knesset, and deputy minister. He is in a unique position to offer his profound insights on the October 7th war and how Israel should be fighting it. I invite you to listen to this message from Michael Oren.
Shalom. I'm Ambassador Michael Oren. Before I was ambassador, I was an historian. And people often ask me, what war in Israel's history does the current war most resemble? Does it resemble the 1973 Yom Kippur War, when Israel was surprised, as we were on October 7th, surprised then by Egypt and Syria attacking us? Is it similar to the Six-Day War, when Israel was surrounded on all sides by hostile armies? Today, surrounded on all sides, not by Egypt and its proxies, but by Iran and its proxies. Certainly, there are similarities there. But the deepest similarities are not with 1973, 1967, or any other war other than Israel's war of independence. That was a war that was fought in our communities, in our towns, in our cities, and the civilian population paid a very, very heavy price for that war, and again, a war on all of our borders. It was also the longest war, lasting roughly a year and a half, and now that this war has lasted 1 year, one does not know whether this war will exceed in length that of our War of Independence, 1947 to 1949. Unlike that war, though, Israel today faces its enemies to a large degree alone in the world, condemned in the world for war crimes, for crimes against humanity, facing waves of anti-Semitism throughout the world. It is an extremely difficult war. And I know that as in 1973, 1967, and 1947-49, our War of Independence, this war too, Israel will prevail, because we are the most resilient and most indomitable people on this planet. Am Yisrael Chai.
An important historical perspective, and indomitable people always pick themselves up from the ashes and from disaster. Well, one day after the October 7th massacre, Hezbollah joined Hamas's war against Israel. Iran's proxy army in Lebanon opened a second front in the north. Since then, Hezbollah has fired over 10,000 rockets, guided anti-tank missiles and suicide drones into Israel. More than 60,000 Israelis have been forced to flee their homes because Hezbollah keeps bombing them. They're still homeless. It's been a year. Israel is fighting Iran's Lebanese proxy army, Hezbollah, so that its people can go home safely.
One of those people is Naama Weinberg. She grew up in Kiryat Shmona on the Lebanese border. Her husband was called up to the IDF as a reservist just recently. Their home was damaged by a Hezbollah rocket attack. She shared her thoughts with us about being a refugee in her own country.
My name is Naama. I'm married to Kobe. We have 4 children between the ages of 9 and 2. I'm a special ed teacher, and Kobe is in reserve duty up north since Simchat Torah. October 7th in the morning, he was called, and he was there most of the year. The thing that I miss the most is the community, the people that I'm used to seeing on a daily basis, and now I haven't seen in more than a year. Not knowing if to look for a new job or to register my kids to what schools to register them. It's not knowing if I can sign a contract for a whole year. So the uncertainty, I think it's in every little step. In order for us to go back, so first of all, we need to feel safe, and then we need to start rebuilding our life from the beginning. The schools need to be rebuilt, the stores, a lot of businesses were shut down. What gives me hope and courage is support that I see on the social media. If it can be a word, anything that gives me the feeling that I'm not alone. It can be packages that my kids got for the holidays. We always say that we need to be united, and that's the most important thing. But I feel that this year, that's what I really felt it more than ever. That our enemies sense when we have inner conflict, and that's what weakens us, and that's when they attack. And since October 7th, at least I feel a huge hug from Am Yisrael. Whenever people ask me, I say, if there's anybody, just be sensitive to someone next to you. Even if, Baruch Hashem, they're fine and their family is healthy and everything looks okay, ask. Sometimes they're very worried and they're concerned, and just to be a good neighbor and to be a good friend, and that's what we need now.
The strength of Israeli families in the face of these challenges is truly remarkable. Their stories remind us that the battle for Israel's future happens not only on the battlefield, but also on the home front.
In the last few weeks, as the IDF shifted its major focus from Hamas in Gaza to Hezbollah in Lebanon up north, many Israeli soldiers have been mobilized and sent north with their units. One of them is named Arki. He served over 200 days as a reservist in the past year in Gaza, and now he's serving up in the north.
On October 7th, I was called up to go straight down south to Kfar Aza to do missions there, and I've been in Miluim for over 200 days since then. Down south, up north, I'm right now, right next to the northern border of Lebanon, and it doesn't matter whether it's up north or down south. We are in a new chapter. We know we're on the right side of history. We know that we will be written down in the history books like the soldiers of King David and the soldiers of the Maccabees and Bar Kokhba before us. And we are strong, and we will destroy our enemies, whether it's up north or down south, no matter how long it might take. Am Yisrael Chai.
The trauma of the October 7th massacre and the ongoing October 7th war still resonates with all of us. Israelis are looking for ways to cope, process the pain, and many are using art to manage that pain. We saw an example of this at an art exhibition in Jaffa called Rays of Light.
This exhibition brings to life the heroic stories of women who survived the October 7th massacre. We went there just recently, visited the exhibition, and I have to share that these works of art tell stories of pain, resilience, and hope. Let's take a look.
I work with art. This is my tool to tell story. And I chose here the sand art because the sand is the land that we are fighting on. The sand is immediately changing, like what's happened to us in the 7th of October. It was changed so fast. Everybody can find himself in that day that is all life ruined. In like a sand, it just changed. The goal for this exhibition is to go out of the country, to go all over the world, to tell those stories, to tell everybody what's happened here in the 7th of October. I think that through art, which is above politics, you can give people empathy to human stories, to just listen to those stories without all the graphic images that makes you feel like, oh, I don't want to see it. No, you can watch it because this art is beautiful and you can listen to this evil. It makes this balance between this so evil monster things that we just been through in the 7th of October to this beautiful art. And that's what makes you contain this and really listen to those testimonies, because this is the real goal, to tell the world and to tell to the other generation what happened here in the 7th of October.
Since Hamas started the October 7th war, countless IDF soldiers have been wounded in battle. Shoval Kabir is one of them, and he is a hero of Israel. I've had the pleasure of going to meet with him, and we're going to share a small part of an interview that we did with him. And we'll see the full interview available later on our social media platforms. The links are in the description of our YouTube show.
My name is Shoval Kabir. I'm 27 years old. I celebrate my last birthday in Tel HaShomer in the hospital. Before the war, I studied engineer. After the war, a lot changed. It's a little bit hard, but I don't want to give up. So in 7 October, I woke up in Sinai in Egypt. I was in vacation before the come back to study. Everything started in Israel, the south. We saw all the videos like everyone saw. We arrived fast to the border, and we get a mission to arrive to Be'eri. And everyone know what happened in Be'eri. The smell, the things that you see in your eyes, the children, the blood, things that not go out from the head.
Is him?
Yes, it's Gabriel. He was my officer. And From the moment that I get a bullet to my body, he get 4, and fell close to me. And this was the last time I saw him. And I hope that Gabriel look at me from the sky and proud of me.
Since the start of the October 7th massacre, we have lost over 700 IDF soldiers in battle. Every one of them will be remembered as a hero of Israel. We'll now hear the words of one of those heroes, words he wrote before tragically falling in the line of duty. Many times in the last year, we've been reminded of the Jewish belief that each person is an entire universe unto himself. Today especially, I'm reminded of all the universes we've lost in this past year. Captain Iftach Yabetz, Zichrono Livracha, is one of them.
Iftach was an artillery officer in the Maglan unit. On the morning of October 7th, only 2 months before he was due to be released from the IDF, he woke up in his home in Ramat HaSharon. It was 6:36 a.m. and sirens were blaring all around. Iftach called his army friends to find out what was going on, but at that stage no one knew anything. Iftach didn't wait for orders. Instead, he and his friends, the late Major Chen Buchris, jumped into a car and head down south. On their way down south, Iftach wrote to his family, and that was the last time that he spoke to them. He had been with them in Tel Aviv just the night before, celebrating the birthday of his father. His father's birthday, was on October 7th, the day that he fell. On their way south, Iftach and Chen heard reports of the massacre in Nachal Oz, and they just decided to head to the kibbutz together with those other fighters they picked up along the way. They got there before anyone else, and there, at the entrance of the kibbutz, they battled against the terrorists with so much courage. Everything was very fast. Iftach's mother, Shira, remembers. She says, at 7 a.m., he left the house. At 12 p.m., he was killed.
That's really the story of so many Israelis on October 7th. They didn't wait for instructions. They didn't wait for orders. They realized their neighbors were under attack. They grabbed their weapons and they ran straight into the line of fire.
And some of them not necessarily soldiers or police officers. Some are just civilians.
Just civilians. Major Chen Buchris and Sergeant Apik Rosenthal were also killed fighting alongside Iftach. Their efforts that day delayed the terrorists long enough for backup to arrive, saving the lives of untold numbers of kibbutz members.
Iftach was a close friend of mine. After he was killed, his friends shared the message he had written to his family before going into another battle a few months earlier. The following is a small snippet from that letter meant to be given to his family in the event that he fell in battle, which unfortunately happened.
And it reads as follows. Endless thoughts run through my mind about why us, why now, and why specifically there. Suspense and tension are in the air. Soon we will come together and assemble for a final briefing before leaving, knowing, or at least I know, that we are going out on a mission that not everyone will come back from. I'm trying to imagine the next few hours, to lead this thing, to be the first one in, the most challenging moments. That's exactly what you taught me to do. And as those thoughts begin to slip away, why us, why now, all of a sudden the answer becomes very clear to me. To fight for this country, to lead this squad, it's not heroism, it's the standard. And if I were to live my life over again, I wouldn't change a thing. I love you. Powerful words.
It is.
It's now our great honor to share a special message from a great source of spiritual wisdom and comfort, British Chief Rabbi, Sir Ephraim Movis.
On Shmini Atzeret, the 7th of October last year, in shuls throughout Israel, congregations declared, Chazak, Chazak, Venit Chazek. We have been strong, we are strong, and we will be strong in the future together. And when we reflect over this past year, isn't that exactly what has happened? Medinat Yisrael has been strong. Our people in Israel have been strong. And Jews right around the world have been strong. During the 5 visits that I've paid to Israel since the 7th of October, I have wanted to come in order to give chizuk, reassurance, strength. But I have always emerged myself being reassured and strengthened, as one says. Banu lechazek yatzanu mechuzakim. It's the people of Israel who are giving the whole Jewish world so much encouragement right now. Resilience, their selflessness, the heroism of so many, their kindness, their altruism. But now we're moving into the next year. And for me, one of the saddest thoughts that I have is, who would have imagined a year ago that right now there would still be hostages being kept? Who would have imagined that the war would still be raging on? But it is. And so v'nitchazek, we need to be strong together, and we will be. Taf Shin Pei, which is our new year, stands for Tehei Shana Pidyon Hashvuyim. May this be the year, and may it happen early in the year, that our hostages will come home safely. May this be a year through which the seeds for future peace and security in Medinat Yisrael will be sown. May this be a year full of sweetness, full of good health, prosperity, and most importantly of all, peace for all of Am Yisrael.
Amen. We are so privileged to have had that special recording from the Chief Rabbi of the UK, Sir Ephraim Mervis. In the heart of Tel Aviv is a place now known only as Hostage Square. I don't know what its official name is. No one knows anymore. That's what it's called, Hostage Square. It's hard to believe that we have such a landmark in our city, but that is our reality. Hostage Square is a plaza in front of the Tel Aviv Museum of Art. After October 7th, it was converted to an outdoor exhibition about the hostages who remain trapped in the Hamas terror dungeons.
Thousands of people pass through the square daily in order to show their support for the families of the hostages in Hamas captivity. We will now bring you a sense of what was happening at the Hostage Square today, on the 7th of October, as well as some testimonies.
Today is definitely a day of speaking Hebrew today. Normally, we really normally speak English, Spanish, French. Today is a Hebrew day. It means that a lot of Israelis here. Been here since December, almost every day. And I am here because I just don't see how situation can be normalized, how you can just go about your life after what had happened. And from October 8th, I found myself with evacuees, and now here. And stand with us, stand tall, speak out.
We need your support. We need you to stand with us, with the right side of history, on the right side, to understand what really happened, to see for yourself that it has been a year and the hostages are still there, and we need whatever you can to do in order to help us and spread the word, because every day is very, very sad and very difficult. But there is something about October and October 7th and the fact that it has been a year and we are still fighting. We are still, you have all the 101 hostages back there.
I flew in last night from London to be here this morning, specifically today, sharing the grief and pain and joy with my people.
I got here 2 weeks ago. I come to volunteer, and I keep flipping from feelings of hopelessness to feelings of strength and optimism. When then I realized that there's only one choice, really, is to be optimistic and to believe in the future and believe in the power of our people.
Just love for the world to understand, like, we're not okay, you know. Feel our pain.
So no despair, and we will survive as we always have.
Maya, you just told me the gentleman in the yellow shirt flew into Israel especially to be here with the people of Israel on October 7th. I know it's difficult to get into Israel. There are so few flights, but anecdotally, I've heard of people who say, yes, you have rockets from 4 or 5 different directions every day, but there is nowhere I would rather be than with my people, embracing them on this horrible day.
And by the way, he also said, I feel safer here in Israel than I do back home in the States.
Which is crazy.
Which is crazy.
Which is crazy.
1 year after they were abducted, 101 hostages are still being trapped, being held in the Hamas terror dungeons, where they're being starved, tortured, raped, and executed. Just today, we received the terrible news that hostage Idan Shtivi, 28 years old, abducted from the Nova Festival, where we were at today, when he tried to help total strangers, was murdered, and Hamas is holding on to his body.
101 hostages. 2 of the hostages are twins, Gali and Ziv Berman. They were abducted from Kfar Aza, from the youth village, right on the boundary of the community. They were abducted when they ran to comfort a neighbor, Emily Damari. She's also still a hostage. Let's hear now from their brother, Liran, whose son's name is actually Be'eri, because he wanted his child to be named after the land he cherished, the land he still cherishes, despite all the pain, as he fights to bring his brothers home.
My name is Liran Berman. I'm the eldest brother out of 4. Gali and Ziv, my twin little brothers, are 27 now. They were 26 when they were kidnapped on October 7th. We have no information about my brothers for a year now. The last information was in November when the released hostages saw them. They saw them separately, but alive. But since November, the 54th day, more than 300 days, we have no new information about them. We wanted peace with our neighbors, but it backfired on us. In the 11th day, when the IDF came and informed us that my brothers are kidnapped, it was one of the happiest days of my life, because we were optimistic they are alive and we will get them back. A year now in the tunnels, I don't know if that was the right mindset. Sometimes, not all the times, not most of the times, but sometimes I'm thinking of if it was just finished then on October 7th, then we could bury them and move on. I wasn't there to help them on October 7th, and I do live with some guilt. Other than the guilt, I don't have the privilege. My brothers are there in Gaza for a year now. We get encouragement and strength from so many layers of the Israeli society. We see them, we see the people in the rallies, and we see the people on the streets. Continue what you're doing. Continue, give us the family strength. Don't leave us alone even for a minute. And continue go to the rallies, continue speak up. We are stronger together and we need us to be together.
It's just unthinkable what the hostages are going through, what their families are going through, and it gives them so much strength to know that people around the diaspora are fighting for their families' freedom. You know, we saw just now 2 strong young men. I'm reminded of what Yasmin Magal said here, cousin of Omer Nutra, who is still a hostage in Gaza. She was here on State of a Nation podcast, and she said, you know, the men were strong when they were taken in there a year ago. They are now extremely vulnerable and weak. There is no one there to protect them. They are at the mercy of their Hamas captors, and at least people fighting around the world for the hostages' freedom gives their families the strength to endure this horrible nightmare. All day, Israel's head of state, President Isaac Herzog, has been visiting the sites of the massacre. He spent all day in the south, starting at 6:29 a.m. at Nova, and then continuing to several kibbutzim and military posts devastated in the October 7th massacre. We're honored to share President Herzog's special message to Jewish communities around the world.
Dear sisters and brothers from all around the world, shalom to all of you from the President's residence in Jerusalem. Today marks a full year since the earth shook, since the worst of human brutality and hatred ripped apart our sense of safety and changed our world forever. A year since our women, our children, our old people were hunted down in their beds, burned to death, beheaded, raped, and shot. Our wounds still cannot fully heal because they are ongoing, because hostages are still being tortured, executed, and dying in captivity, because they and their families are still living in the loss and the terror of October 7th, right at these very moments, because tens of thousands of families still cannot return home. In many senses, we're all still living the aftermath of October 7th. It is everywhere in our country. It is also in the anti-Semitism that came charging forward throughout the world in the wake of the war with Hamas. It is in the ongoing threat to the Jewish state by Iran and its terror proxies, who are blinded by hatred and bent on the destruction of our one and only Jewish nation state. We are a people with the power to keep standing up again and again against hatred, to get back on our feet from the ashes of tragedy, to fight and to survive, to heal and to rebuild. I would like to end my words with a prayer and hope in this spirit, that we find strength and receive the blessing of peace. Adonai oz la'amo yiten, Adonai yevarech et amo b'shalom.
Thank you, President Herzog. Israel's national anthem is called Hatikva, the Hope. Hatikva is a song of hope. Hatikva will be sung tonight by the young couple Yoni and Nina Tokaya. The duo are better known as Yonina.
Yoni and Nina usually perform together, but Yoni was recently called up to reserve duty once again. So they sang this Hatikva as a duet separately, coming together in a song here at the Israeli Citizen Spokespersons office. We pray for Yoni's safety and that all soldiers defending Israel, and think of all the brave parents holding their families together while one spouse is out on the front. They're fighting a completely different battle.
And that was so powerful. Hatikva is the hope, and what more powerful hope can there be than for a husband and wife separated by war to finally come together in song, at least through the magic of editing, in hope that they will embrace each other again. Maya, you said how moving it was to sing Hatikva in Kfar Aza this morning, to be a free people in our land, such resonance a year after the residents there were slaughtered. And I think it's a fitting ending to our commemoration here to end with that prayer from our husband and wife to be reunited in better days.
Yeah, I was just thinking that, to start our day, both of us, 6:29 a.m. in Kfar Aza, and to finish it as we started at 6:29 p.m. And I'm grateful that we get to be doing what we're doing, and we need to keep stepping up for Israel, standing up, speaking up, and thank you.
And it's you in the diaspora, our supporters around the world who are standing up and speaking up for Israel and the Jewish people, who give us hope in that vision of being a free people, safe and secure in our land.
So thank you so much for joining us tonight. We hope you found this commemoration inspiring, memorable, and a source of hope for the future. It is our duty to step up, stand up, speak up. Thank you for your continued support. We truly do feel it, and we appreciate it from the bottom of our hearts.
Our commemoration event ends here. but the October 7th war continues. There is still so much work to be done. Right now, 101 Israeli hostages remain in the Hamas terror dungeons in Gaza. Right now, Israeli soldiers are fighting on the front lines in order to keep us safe. Right now, anti-Semitism is surging around the world. We will not stop speaking out on behalf of Israel and the Jewish people. We will never stop fighting for what is right. All of us and all of you around the world have an important and critical role to play at this historic moment. Be sure to follow the Israeli Citizen Spokespersons Office on all social media platforms: Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, TikTok, all of them. With your help, we will amplify our important messages and make our voices heard against the hate and the lies. Thank you again for joining us from all around the world. Thank you for making us feel like we are one big family. Thank you for everything that you are doing, wherever you live, for Israel and the Jewish people in our darkest hour. Thank you for giving us hope. Be safe. Never forgive, never forget, never again. Am Yisrael Chai.
Am Yisrael Chai.